New tonight, as elections approach, folks who are deaf and hard of hearing may miss out on casting their vote because of a lack of support at the polls, and that can lead to millions of voters not being represented. We spoke with the director of disability policy at Drake University to learn how Iowans can all help make sure everyone gets their vote cast. People who are deaf and hard of hearing face unique challenges this general election. They include accessibility and information. Questions hearing impaired voters have include, will they be able to cast their vote at the polls? And are they well informed about who's on the ballot? The deaf, people with hearing impairments and disabilities, make up the largest minority population in the United States.
It's millions of people across the country. Somewhere around 20% of our nation has some form of disability, whether that is deafness, a vision impairment, autism spectrum disorder, a mental illness, physical disabilities. And if elections are not accessible to roughly 20% of the population and their families and friends and caregivers, you are missing a tremendous portion of our population that's not being heard.
Daniel Van Sant, director of disability policy at the Harkin Institute, says voting accessibility for the deaf community is twofold, starting with information about candidates, making sure political ads and ballot initiatives are captioned.
You want to make sure that any candidate event that you're putting on, a debate, a speech, everything should have American Sign Language as well as CART transcription, which is a live captioning provided by a human captioner.
Otherwise,
if they don't know where a candidate stands, they don't know who to vote for. And when they show up to a polling place, you also have to make sure that that experience is accessible.
Now, Iowa is making progress. Every voting location has a curbside option, allowing people to vote without getting out of their car, along with people standing by to offer assistance. That additional help, Van Sant says, should include an ASL interpreter, but he knows that's not likely because of an interpreter shortage. However, he recommends pre-recorded videos in American Sign Language with instructions displayed on tablets.
So even just a PSA video about what the voting process would look like could prepare someone to feel confident walking in that day of what their experience will be.
Prepared poll workers can help make voting a positive experience.
Poll workers need to assume that at some point during the election day, they will have voters with disabilities who are deaf or blind or use a wheelchair or have an invisible disability. If somebody comes in and says, I'm deaf and I need assistance, or I have a disability, need assistance, if the poll worker responds smoothly, confidently, and says, we have these videos, we have this placard, we have a notepad and pencil, that alone can really go a long way in making people feel comfortable and confident.
Because if deaf or hearing impaired Iowans don't cast their vote,
so you end up with systems that maybe don't fit the majority of our state, they happen to fit the majority of people that were able to be informed and make it to cast a ballot.
He says if you're going to a candidate event, call up that event ahead of time and ask if they will have live captioning, if they will have an ASL interpreter. And if you have questions about how to vote with a disability, go to Iowa's Secretary of State website. There's a lot of resources and videos to know your rights.